Hello. Hey, how are you doing? Let me get a little sip. Okay. So, last time we did this, last week, we tried out the love framework. Um, was pretty fun to mess with, but I don't think it was very visually appealing. It mostly involved me, typing stuff out very rotely. So I'm trying to think of ways to spruce up those code only frameworks because I don't think the way I did it last week is sustainable. I need to come up with a plan for that. But for today, we have something different. We have Clickteam Fusion 2. Now, a lot of this might be familiar since we have done G-Develop 5 recently. Clickteam Fusion, formerly known as Multimedia Fusion, is kind of the basis that G-Develop was built on. Like a lot of the assumptions G-Develop makes, they're based on stuff that you do here. So, we have a nice tutorial here. And we'll be able to run through the Choco Break. I'm going to try to get through all four if I can. Oh, there's a Choco Break HD. Hmm. Maybe we do that too. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. But anyways, let's start at the very beginning with Choco Break. So I'll make this even bigger. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. So, welcome to the step-by-step tutorial. Follow this tutorial, and in less than 1 hour, you will have created a complete game from scratch. This game is called Choco Break and is a clone of the classic Breakout game. Follow this tutorial and you will understand the basics of Clickteam Fusion 2.5, the interface, the events, the frame editor, all of it. And you will discover the power of this tool. This tool will enable you to create any kind of 2D game, presentation, educational software, CD-ROM, without programming, and with ease. Choco Break. So, stay with us, follow this tutorial, and create your first game. So, Clickteam Fusion, it is not a free framework slash engine. This is a paid one. You do have to purchase the license for it. So keep that in mind. A lot of the things that I've gone through in the series have been totally free to use. This one is not. I just wanted to get that out of the way quick. So I believe it does have a trial, and you should be able to get through tutorials like this one on that trial. But if you want to release an actual game, you will probably need to purchase a license. So, getting on with it. Our first application. You should already have Clickteam Fusion 2.5 installed on your computer. Yes, we do. So, the area on the left of the window is divided into two. The workspace area, where the content of your game will be displayed, and the properties toolbar. You can see the workspace toolbar up here and the properties toolbar right below it. The bottom of the screen shows the content of the graphic libraries. If you do not see any of these windows, do not panic. It is very simple to bring them into the display. Open the View menu and go into Toolbar submenu. Now select the proper option, Workspace, Properties, or Library window depending on the toolbar you're missing. We're now going to create our first application. Click on the new icon in the toolbar. We've already done that, as you can see here. We have a new application. You can see in the Workspace toolbar that Clickteam Fusion 2.5 has created a new application. You can also see that Clickteam Fusion 2.5 has automatically created a frame in the application. This frame will contain the first level of our game. Clickteam Fusion 2.5 has also opened, automatically, a new window in the work area. This window, as you can see here, is called the Storyboard Editor, one of the several editors contained in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. We won't be explaining them all right now. For the moment, we are simply going to enlarge the Storyboard Editor so that it takes the whole available space in the main window. To do so, simply double-click on the title of the window. You do not need to do this if the window takes all the available space already. So, we have already done that. If it were a window, it would look like this. And the welcome screen is behind it. Close that. And if we do that as it said in the tutorial, we get a nice full screen window. So let's proceed to the next step. Now, the frame editor. As was said before, the window you see on the screen is called the Storyboard Editor. It displays a thumbnail of the frames in your application. Frames can be thought of as playfields, parts, or as levels of your game. You could also say it shows the different slides of your presentation, if that's what you're creating. You will understand how it works at the end of the tutorial. For the moment, I want you to click one button. Locate, you mouse. There are some typos in this. On the big one button in the storyboard window, and click. And this will open the frame editor for editing the first frame of your application. Remember, your game is your application. This is the first level of your game. As you can see here. Now you see the frame editor. The white area in the middle is the place where we're going to drop the different elements of the game. This is the playfield where all the actions will take place when the game is run. So now we continue on to dropping in the objects. Okay, what we want to create is a breakout style game. In a breakout game, you typically have a ball, a bat, and some bricks. In this tutorial, we want to create a super breakout game with impressive graphics made in 3D. So, first, we need to find the graphics for our game. You will not have to draw the graphics on the screen, as we have already done that for you. All the graphics of the game we are going to create are contained in a library. Libraries are sets of objects ready to be used in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. So how do we locate the graphics library for our game? As you might have guessed, the library can be found in the library window on the bottom left of your display. There, you will see a tree with folders on it. Click on the tutorial folder, and this should display a set of names in the main display of the library toolbar. Locate the Choco Break tutorial line and double click on it to open it. So we go into the library toolbar here. Got a local library, tutorials, and Choco Break tutorial. And we have the library displayed on the bottom here. So, as you can see, the library contains a collection of named items, the objects. You might even guess the future use of the objects from their names. For example, Ball Golden will be the ball we use in our breakout game. Okay, let's drop our first objects. First of all, locate in the library the object named Sugar Vertical 1. Click on it and hold the mouse button down, then drag it onto the white area of the frame and release the mouse. You should now see a large object. Click on the object and drag it to the left of the frame area. This object is the border for the left of our play area. Proceed with the same method for the object called Sugar Horizontal and place it at the top of the frame area. Do the same with the object called Sugar Vertical 2 and drop on the right side. At the end, your display should look like this. So let's try to mimic that. In our library toolbar, we have a Sugar Vertical object, which we can place like this. Sugar Horizontal object, we can place like that. In the Sugar Vertical 2 object, we can place like that. I want that to be in the front like that. There we go. So, the objects you have just dropped contain more than meets the eye. They are animated. To see the animation, you have to launch the application. To do so, locate the Run Frame icon on the icon bar near the top of your display and click on it. So, there's a Run Frame button right up here. And if we click on it, we get a preview of our frame. Right now, all it does is animate those things, but it'll do more later. Okay, that's all obvious. Let's go here. The ball. Every breakout game needs a ball. Now that we know how to add objects, let's drop one on our playfield. Locate the object called Ball Golden in the library. Then, using the method described in the previous chapter, drag it and drop it in the middle of the frame. So we get our Ball Golden, drag it into the frame, and if we run it, it'll just stay there, not doing anything. So, if you click Run Frame now, you'll see that the ball does not move. It's static. Why does it move? It won't move until we teach our ball how to move. In other words, we're going to assign the ball movement property and define how that movement will work. Each object has a number of properties that define its behavior during the game. That is, how it moves, how it is displayed, its animations, etc. To access the properties of an object, you just need to open its properties in the property window. And this is done by simply clicking on the object in frame. Do it, and you'll see the properties in the property toolbar. The properties are sorted by genre, with little tabs on the top of the window. Locate the one called Movement and click on it. Locate the line Type and click on it. This opens a combo box displaying all the different genres of movement. Select the bouncing ball entry. Let's do that. Select the ball, and we have its properties down here. We can go into movement, and under type here, We can use the drop down to go from static to bouncing ball. We have chosen to affect a bouncing ball movement to our object. As you can see, other types of movement are available. We'll come back on them later. Once the movement is selected, its properties are available in the property toolbar. As you can see here, if you explore all the different properties, you'll notice some are obvious, like the speed property. By default, the speed is set to 60, which is a little fast for the game. Set the speed to 45, and then click the try movement button to see the speed of the ball on the screen. Okay, let's do that. Set that to 45 and press the try movement button. Goes down. Deceleration makes the ball slow down progressively, like in a football game. For our breakout, we don't want the ball to stop. Leave this property at 0. Moving at start should be checked. We want the ball to move when the game begins. So that is checked. That's good. Number of angles indicates how many angles the ball can have. Different settings are 8, 16, and 32. Leave it to 32. It will make the game more interesting. I promise. The randomizer property adds some randomness to the bounces. Sometimes the ball will not bounce in the correct directions if you set this too high. For this game, you may want to reduce this parameter a little. So let's do that. We got 20 in the randomizer right now. How about we set that to 10 instead? The security property is used to prevent a ball from getting stuck in a bouncing pattern loop, which is going back and forth the same way. It defines the number of times the ball will bounce before quitting the loop. Note: after this tutorial, you can learn a lot and have some fun by experimenting with these settings, noticing the effects they have. Now, click on the Initial Direction property. As the name indicates, it defines the direction the ball will take when the game begins. As a default, the ball goes on the right of the screen. Of course, we must modify this as we want the ball to come towards us, or better, towards the brick so that it bounces before coming to us. With your mouse, select the arrows as below. So, we are going to select none, boop, 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 and boop, boop, boop. We start at 12, go up to 10, and we start at 4, go up to 6. Okay. That held. When more than one direction are selected, Clickteam Fusion 2.5 chooses a direction at random within the selected direction. Congratulations! Great job! You've now taught your ball object how to move, and it's ready to be part of an enjoyable game. Now, let's move on to some more exciting aspects of our creation. Making the ball bounce. We have just defined the ball movement of the ball object. You can run the frame again by clicking on the Run Frame button, as before. You should see the ball move and vanish out of the playfield. It works, but we need the ball to stick around for the game. What's the problem? Well, we can see that the ball does not bounce on the sugar object as it should. We have to instruct Clickteam Fusion 2.5 to make the ball bounce off of objects. To do that, we will now discover the event editor. And I will discover a glass of water. Locate the event editor in the toolbar and click on it. the frame editor, that's the global event editor, and there's the event editor. So here we are in the event editor. The display should look like this, and it did. So let's think about what we want to achieve. We want the ball to bounce when it collides with the vertical and horizontal bars. So if we use the name of the objects as we saw them in the frame editor, the sentence becomes then, when the object ball golden collides with object sugar vertical 1, then the object ball golden should bounce. This sentence is in two parts. The first part can be called the condition. So when the object ball golden collides with the object sugar vertical 1, that's a condition. A condition is simply a way to determine when something has happened. Here, our condition is when the object ball golden collides with object sugar vertical 1, like I just said. The second part is the action to take place when the condition occurs. We call that the action. In life, you see conditions and actions all the time. For instance, if the condition was, "Is it my birthday?" then when your birthday came, the action might be to celebrate. Here, our action is object ball golden bounce. An identical condition action sentence could be constructed for the other objects sugar vertical 2 and sugar horizontal. Next, let's create our conditions and actions in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. With your mouse, click on the New Condition line on the screen, and the New Condition dialog box opens immediately. The content of this dialog box is simple. It shows the objects we are using in the game and some standard objects that are always available. Among the objects you see displayed, you will find the objects that you have already dropped in the frame under the frame editor, and some new objects that we will talk more about later. Right now, we will concentrate on the ball golden object, our game ball. Now, right-click with the right mouse button on the ball. This opens a new pop-up menu, the Conditions menu. Explore this menu and you will discover many entries. This menu contains all the available conditions for the object ball golden. For example, you can test the position of the object on the screen, its direction, count the number of balls on the screen, etc. Remember that we wanted to test the collision of our ball with the sugar vertical 1 object. So, open the Collision submenu and select the option Another Object. It immediately opens another dialog box. So, let's do all this. We want to go to the ball golden and collide with sugar vertical 1. We test the collision of the object ball golden with another object. Clickteam Fusion 2.5 is asking us to choose which object to detect. If you remember our sentence, we want to test the sugar vertical 1 object. Double-click on the object. The dialog box should immediately vanish, and the event editor should now display a new event line. Collision between ball and vertical. We've just defined a new condition. As you can see above, that condition will be true every time ball golden collides with sugar vertical 1. We now have to enter the action that will happen when this condition is met. Carefully inspect the top bar of the event editor. It contains the objects that we have seen in the condition dialog box, some new objects, and the objects we have dropped in the game. Okay, so what we want to do is to have the ball golden object bounce. This is our desired action. The first thing to do is locate the ball golden object in the bar, then move the mouse in the empty square under the ball golden object and click with the right mouse button. This instantly opens the actions menu of the object ball golden. So, If we right click that, we get this menu, and in that menu there should be a movement to bounce. So locate the bounce object in the movement submenu, select the option, and now the empty square is filled with a check mark, meaning an action is now defined. You have defined your first event, one condition, plus one action. Bravo! We still need to define the same type of event for when the ball collides with the sugar horizontal and the sugar vertical 2 objects. So, instead of reading all that, I will simply do it for you. So, when this collides with sugar horizontal, it also bounces. And when this collides with sugar vertical 2, it will also bounce. So, with a little practice, you will find that creating events that have conditions and actions is intuitive. Most of your creation in Clickteam Fusion 2.5 will consist of simple steps like this. Once all the events are defined, the event editor should look like this. You can now launch the game. When it runs, you will see the ball magically bounce on the objects. It will eventually disappear on the bottom of the screen. Does this give you a hint of the next tasks we want to accomplish in creating this game? So, let's take it for a run. As you see, the ball bounces a little bit, but then it falls off the screen. So next, we will be doing the player. To complete our game, we now have to add the bat, which will be controlled by the mouse. Let's go back to the frame editor. Click on the frame editor icon in the toolbar. Let's do that. Frame editor. Inspect the Choco Break tutorial library in the bottom of your screen and find the object named Player. Drag and drop it in the bottom of the play area, just in the middle between the two vertical sugar objects. So we will drop this player off right in the middle here. Just as for the ball, we have to define the movement property of the object. Click on it to make the properties appear in the Property toolbar. As for the ball, locate the Movement tab and click on it. Open the Type Combo box. We want our player to be controlled by the mouse. Select the mouse-controlled option in the list. So, we select our player, and for a movement type, we want them to be mouse-controlled. Now, click on the Edit Movement button. A flashing zone can be seen on the screen. Using the handles of this zone, restrict the movement of the object by dragging the small black boxes until the zone looks like a thin rectangle. From one of the sugar objects to the other, like so. So let us do that. We will drag these ends out to the ends of the surfaces there. And we will thin this area here till it looks like that. And if we try it, we can move the player with our mouse very fast. Player is approaching at very high speeds. And so we have that working. If you test the game right now, you'll see that the player actually moves on the screen but does not affect the ball at all. Let's demonstrate that. We can move the player, but the ball passes right through them. Oh no. Okay, so the reason for this is obvious. We have yet to define an event to do so in the event editor. What we want to test is when the ball golden object collides with the player object, bounce the ball object. Note, since the movement of the player object is now controlled by the mouse pointer will vanish when you launch your game. But for now, the only way to close your game in that case is to press at the keys Alt F4. So, let's go. We're ready to make our game playable now. Click on the Event Editor button in the toolbar to open the editor. Open the Event Editor. You may notice that a new icon, the player object, has been added to the top bar. You should now be able to enter this event by yourself. Please try to do so, and if you do not succeed, then read the following text that will guide you through the task. Okay, we're not going to use the hints. We are going to do this ourselves because we are adults here. So the ball will collide with another object, and that will be the player. And when this happens, the ball will bounce. So let's see. Yep, that's exactly what they would have us do. So now, if we run the frame, whoop, the ball now bounces off the player. And what happens if the ball bounces off the player's side? Well, it bounces, but it won't bounce up towards the top because of the way the player is shaped. Okay, so we have that collision working. Next, we need to add the extra objects. So, being obliged to press Alt F4 to quit the game is not very practical. It would be nice and much easier if the game would end when we press one key, like Escape. Well, this is very simple to do in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. We can make an event with a condition and an action, which we are now familiar with to accomplish this. The event we want to define is when the user presses Escape, then quit the game. Now, first of all, let's enter the condition. As usual, click on the New Condition line in the Events Editor. This opens the New Condition dialog. Do you remember that we mentioned we would talk about the extra objects contained in the dialog box? Now's the time. Let's discover what these powerful objects are about. By moving your mouse over the objects, locate the mouse pointer and keyboard object. That is right here. As its name indicates, this object tests everything that touches the mouse and keyboard. Right-click on the object to open the Conditions menu. If you inspect the options, you can see that you have at your disposal many options to test the keyboard and mouse. Select the keyboard upon pressing a key. And we will want to press Escape. So that creates a condition for us upon pressing Escape. You should now see the new line with the condition upon pressing Escape. So, the new condition is now defined, but we have to define the action that will happen when the key is pressed. We want the action to end the game. Inspect the object bar on the top of the Events Editor and find the Storyboard Controls objects. That's this, Storyboard Controls. The Storyboard Controls object allows you to control the flow of the application. locate the empty square below the storyboard controls object in front of our new condition, and click with the right mouse button. This opens the action menu for this object. So, one of the options here is to end the application. Once the action is defined, launch your game and press escape. The game quits automatically. So if we test that, if I run the frame, I am going to press escape now. Boop. Yep, it quits. No need to press Alt F4 anymore. So, I will discuss the system objects and their functions. This is the special object. This object contains many actions and conditions to perform complex tasks in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. It will be more important to you as you become an advanced user. This is the speaker object. This is for sounds and music, and conditions to know what is playing. You can adjust volumes, channels, and much more. The storyboard controls object contains actions and conditions that regulate flow of the application, moving between frames, quitting, etc. The timer object contains conditions to perform actions at specific intervals in the application. The new objects object allows you to create new objects, duplicates, of objects already in your application while the application is running. A single monster could become 10 or more this way. This is one of the ways that you can create, for example, spawner objects. The mouse pointer and keyboard object contains all the necessary conditions to test the mouse and the keys pressed. And the player 1 object contains actions to change the score and number of lives of the player. It is used in games. So, now, our game is slowly coming into shape, but it still lacks one thing: sound. Sound adds excitement and feeling to your game. Let's make some sound when the ball bounces. That's what she said. The events editor should be displayed on your screen. We are going to add new actions to the events we have previously created. First of all, let's make a sound when the ball collides with the player. So, locate the event line collision between ball golden and player, and move your mouse until it reaches the position of the sound object. Click to open the Actions menu for the sound, and choose Play Sample. This opens the sound selector. So, which one were we colliding with? Okay, the player. So, we collide with the player. We want to play a sample. With this file selector, locate the directory where your version of Clickteam Fusion is installed, and open the Choco Break folder. Several WAV files should be listed. Choose the file pop04.wav. Okay, so we're looking for pop04.wav. Where was our Fusion installed? It should be in Steam. Might take a while to get there. Sorry about that. There it is. You get to see all my games. Clickteam Fusion 2.5. Here we go. So should be under tutorials and Choco Break. Here we go. Pop04. So play sample pop 04 when it bounces. So you can see that when the collision condition is true, two actions will take place. First bouncing the ball, then playing the sound. But due to the speed of the computer, the actions will be performed simultaneously. You can now start the game. If the volume's up and the speakers are connected, you should hear the ball bounce when it hits the player. So, since I'm capturing all desktop audio, you guys should hear it too. Bounce. It's a little bit faint even for me, but you should be able to hear it. Boing. Boing. So let's add more sound. It makes sense that when the ball collides with sugar, it also makes a sound. So we want these collisions to play a sound as well, and that sound is going to be pop 1. Once we have the sample in the project, we don't need to load it again. It's right here. Okay, so the walls will play pop 1, player will play pop 4. So you can also copy it. I could have done it that way too. So we'll show you how to do that. So move your mouse over the action and click and hold to drag it, and then move it. And that's all you need to do to copy. So this is pop 1, this is pop 1. So it just says to repeat like we have. So now we can preview these sounds. Again, they're probably a little bit faint, but you should be able to hear them. Take a moment to revel in what you've just created. Revel. I'm reveling. Feel it? And then we will move on to the next step. So, in a breakout game, we usually have bricks that need to be destroyed. So now we have to add those to the game. We need a score setting goal for the game, and that is to destroy bricks with the ball. So, back to the frame editor. Once here, we need to go back to the library window. We want to locate the object named milk. This is a chocolate brick for our Choco Break game. Drag it with the mouse onto the playfield and drop it somewhere in the top area of the frame. Drag and drop another milk object and place it just under the one you dropped. Repeat until you have created a column of 7 objects. When you finally have 7 of them, proceed to the next step. Okay, we go down to the library, take a milk, and drag it in here. And we keep doing that until we have 7 of them. We don't need to be super precise here. This isn't a serious game. And this is a silly game. Okay. So we've got our busted chocolate bars here. Now, we want to duplicate the column to the right in order to create a realistic looking chocolate bar. Click on the top left of the bricks and drag a selection frame around the bricks. This action will select all the bricks within the area, as indicated below. Now, open the Edit menu in the main menu bar and select Copy. All of them are copied in the clipboard. Then we select Paste, and the whole thing is pasted. So, we say Copy, Paste, and we get a little crosshair here. When we click the crosshair, all our stuff is pasted onto the screen. So, how many times does it want us to paste this? So, it doesn't really matter apparently. So, let's paste this until it reaches the end of the screen. We can do this to speed it up every time we do it. Now we just take these, lead them, and maybe we do move these a little bit to the left. There we go. Now we have our Chucky bars. So they outline a different way you could do it here. What you have not learned yet is that you could have used a special function of the editor to create the entire group of remaining brick objects. By right-clicking on the first brick and then selecting Duplicate, the entire grid of bricks could have been created instantly. Be sure to explore this time-saving capability after we finish the tutorial. Well, that's something telling us the good way to do it after we've already done it. Anyways, a little more water there. We now have to go on to define the events that take... What? Typos in this. We now have to go on to define the events that take place with each brick as the ball collides with them. From your experience with this tutorial, you probably realized by now that we have to go to the event editor. So go ahead and click on the event editor icon to begin this. We shall do that. You'll notice that the new object in the object bar is the milk object. So we create another condition. And we can do that ourselves. When the ball collides with milk, milk is stored in the balls. So, what should happen to the bricks when the ball hits them? When you create games, the entire process will often be about asking questions like that and finding the best solutions. Clickteam Fusion 2 is full of perfect solutions for the games. As you learn more about how it works, you will quickly become more professional when it comes to solving every game's unique problems. Clickteam Fusion was designed to help you in every way as you develop game ideas. So, what we want to do next is destroy the milk object when the ball golden object collides with it. When we destroy an object, it's gone for good for that part of the game. At least until the game starts again or we create a new instance of that object. So, Locate the empty square and right click to open the actions menu, then select the destroy option. We shall destroy the milk. As with the rest of the game, we'll want to make a sound when the milk object's destroyed. Sound can be just as important as the visual aspects that the player sees. Clickteam Fusion is a multimedia tool, so we can use sound to reinforce the excitement of the game and add more realism and emotion. The realism and emotion of Impact02.wav. Truly awe-inspiring. So we just want to add a sound to this one, and this time it will be Impact02.wav. So, good job. You now have a truly worthy set of bricks to challenge your player with. Along with previous chapters, you have accomplished much in a very short time. So, with all of that said, let's give this a test. Okay. And that's one way to do it. But I think this makes the game too easy. But oh, and that's because I forgot to make this bounce. Wait. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting behaviors. But anyways, that's how the strange physics of Multimedia Fusion 2 work. Probably because the milk bars are placed very haphazardly, but I digress. So this is all fluff down here. We don't need fluff here. So, score, lives, and other objects. The score is an important part of any game. Tell us how good a player is. So, we need to display the score, and we also need to display the number of lives the player has. Without lives, the game would be far too easy and the player would get bored. So, since in breakout games the player usually loses a life when they miss the ball, that will be our condition for taking away a life. So, we have to decide how many points we award the player and how many lives the player starts with. First, we go back to the frame editor. And we are going to discover some more objects. The objects used so far are active objects. These are the most used objects in the game. They can move, collide, and they can be animated. There are a lot more objects available, and they have different properties. So let's see a couple of them. In the library, locate the object called Sky and drag and drop it into the frame. Library, Sky. Drag and drop that here. There we go. As you can see, this object is a gradient of blue and looks very nice on our playfield. You'll also notice that this object goes in the background, behind all other objects automatically. That's because this is called a quick backdrop object. Quick backdrop objects are simple colored backgrounds. They don't have many properties, can't be moved, and they do not interfere at all with the active objects. They're just here as a backdrop to enhance the display. It can be set to an ellipse shape or a line, and you can define a colored border for them. So, click on the sky object to select it, and immediately its properties appear in the property toolbar. There are properties that can be changed, and we will experiment with this a little bit. So for color, we can give it a pink border with a width of 8. That's a little too big. Let's make it 4. And for a fill, let's try motif. We can give it a motif. Yeah, let's mess with this a little bit. I don't diverge from the tutorials often enough. So let's do this. We'll get a nice blue color and make a square. No, that's not the fill type we want. We want it to be like this. And let's make little segments here. They'll all be different sizes to give it some chaos. And we'll make lines through here using the rectangle tool. And that's odd, so I'm gonna do this. And we'll use the brush tool. Oops. A little hard to tell what pixel it's gonna brush. Here we go. And I give it some symmetry here. I don't know what pattern I'm trying to create here, but it's something. Okay. And that'll be our ugly little motif there. So, let's return to the tutorial now. So, the score object. We need an object to display the score. Clickteam Fusion provides one object dedicated to do this. The score object. We will not find the score object in the library. It could reside there, we simply did not insert it. But we are going to create a score object from scratch. Open the Insert menu and choose the option New Object. It opens a dialog box with a list of objects. These are all the available objects in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. As you can see, there are many, and they are what give Clickteam Fusion the power to do what you want. In the left pane of the window, click on the name Game. This will display only the game objects in the right pane. Locate the score object and double-click on it. So, we say Insert Object, Games, Score. And we'll put that here. And this closes the box. Mouse pointer carries the object. Click somewhere to drop it. And if you look in the properties, you can see that the player affected by the score is player 1. Now, drag the number to a convenient location in the bottom left of the play area. This will display our score. So we'll put this in the bottom left somewhere. How about right here? I'm gonna get rid of that. The gradient. And I'm gonna make this a dark mode gradient. There we go. So, how do I give this like a white color? Well, I need to go through all of these and do it manually. Okay. Let's just do it. Eight, 9, minus, plus, period, E. Okay, there we go. Now I've got a light colored score. Next, we need to display the number of lives for the player during the game. For that, we will use a lives object. As before, we're going to create this object from scratch as it does not exist in the library. So, choose Insert New Object, Games, and Lives. So we'll do that. We'll insert Lives. And we'll put this to the opposite side. Okay. Wonder, is there a way to... Guess not. Okay, that's fine. Let me just move this like that. Okay, so this goes over some of the objects we have access to. I'll skip over them. We'll only go over objects that we use. So, completing the game. if you run your game, you'll see that the score and lives are now displayed, but they don't change. We have to enter the actions that will modify them. So, go back to the event editor. We want to add points to the score when the ball destroys a brick. So, that will involve adding a new action where a collision between the brick and ball is. So, in that condition, we need to put a new action that increases the score. So we go into the event editor. When the ball collides with milk, we want to add a value to score. We'll use 10. I think the tutorial might use a different value. Yeah, they say 100. We're being stingy. So, the lives. We automatically start with 3 lives, which is just what we want. But let's think a little. We want to subtract 1 life when the player misses the ball and it goes at the bottom of the playfield. So, this gives us the following event. When the ball leaves the area in the bottom, subtract 1 life from the player. So, we enter a new line of events. So we click on new condition, etc. So, under position, we say test position of ball. Now, this will open up a new dialog box, and we'll be able to select which side of the frame to check. Select leaves in the bottom, and click on OK. So for a condition, look for the ball. And test position. This will test if the ball leaves the bottom. So now we can enter the action to subtract 1 from the number of lives. So, under player, number of lives, we subtract 1 from lives. And we can also make a losing noise when the player loses a ball. So, when this happens, we play a sound. We want a different sound, down 01. And hold up. We want that to be uninterruptible. Does not get interrupted. So, if we launch our game, when we lose a ball, we can't do anything else. So, we should program an action to bring it back. So, locate your mouse and right click the ball. Position, select position. Read 2240 is good. So, Now, we have entered an action that repositions the ball automatically in the center when it disappears. So let's give that a try. So, just after repositioning the ball, we gotta change its direction to the top. So that's done with a simple action. Locate the checkmark position action and right click on it. So we do this basically. And select the direction. And we set it to all the top. So as you can see, we have multiple actions here for the ball. And now, if we test this, we get a little leeway. Because the ball will always bounce upward first. So, next, we need a high score table. One final thing to do, we need to detect when the number of lives equals 0, and when it is, we need to end the game. And this can be done very simply. Click on New Condition, and in New Condition dialog, click the Player 1 object and select Compared to Player's Number of Lives. So, compare to player's number of lives, and we want to say equal 0 because we're checking for when the player's life count equals 0. So now the action. Right click under storyboard controls and select next frame. So when the number of lives reaches 0, Fusion will switch to the next frame in the game. But the problem with that is that there isn't one quite yet. So to do that, we need to go to the storyboard editor, which is right up here. And we can see the progress we've made on our frame here. Looking a lot better than it started. So we can click there and we get a new frame. Let's open it. So you're in the frame editor and we want a background object. So going to locate the screen high score image in the library here. Going to put that on our little frame here. Now, for the high score object, we insert a new object and select the high score object in the games category. So like this, insert object, games, high score. And we click right here. We can move around like that. So we can mess with the font here. do, do. There we go. That looks a little better. We now have to program the events of our little high score frame. So we click the event editor. So what we want to do is simple. Display the high score table 10 seconds, then restart the game. So you might guess that we're going to use the timer object to do this. Click new condition, and in new condition dialog box, right click the timer object and choose the option, is the timer equal to a certain value? New condition, timer, is the timer equal to a certain value? And we say 10 seconds. Now for the action. Under storyboard controls, select restart application. So now we can run from the start, run application, and now if we lose all our bowls, we go to the high score screen and we can enter our high score. So we have that working, and now we want a title screen. So our game's nearly complete. We seem to be missing a title page though. For the title page, we'll insert a new frame, so click on the storyboard editor icon, like so, and we want to insert one there and move it up to the top, because that's sort of the logic the storyboard uses. The first frame on the storyboard will always be run first, and the next frame will always go to the next frame in the sequence. So we've done that. So let's edit the frame. We want the file name screen title in here. So let's drag that up. Ow. Okay. We're going to drop a button object in the frame. To start the game, you'll have to click the button. Select Insert New Object and click on Interface. Then choose Button and drop it onto the frame. So Insert Object. We want... we can find it in all. I think we want interface button. Here we go. Now we click on the screen. We need to change the text, so we go to the settings here. This is a text push button, and we want the text to say, we're going to save play game. We're going to stretch this out a little bit so it looks a little better and is easier to click. Might give it a little height too. There we go. Then we resize the button and position it as we did. So now we need to define the event. So this event's simple. When the user clicks the button, we go to the next frame. So let's do that. When the button's clicked, under storyboard controls, we go to next frame. Very simple. Yep, that's exactly how they say to do it. So now our game is technically finished. We can play this, we can accumulate scores, we can lose lives. And when we lose, we get taken to a high score table where we can enter our names. And after a couple seconds, it goes back to the title. So we have a fully functioning game here. So what's next? There are lots of ways to improve this. We could add some music to the title page, we could add new sound effects, we could leave the level when all the bricks are destroyed, we can create new levels with different bricks, have bonuses fly down the player, make the player launch bullets to destroy the bricks, have more than one ball at the same time, give bonus lives for certain scores, so on and so forth. So on and so forth. Sniff. Okay, and so that is the simplest possible tutorial for doing Clickteam Fusion 2. Specifically 2.5. And next we can do a quick intro to physics in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. So, this is one I haven't done before. The Choco Break is a pretty infamous tutorial that's been around for a long time. I did do it way back when I first got the software. It was a while ago now. But, introduction. Welcome to this introductory guide on inserting physics objects and applying some of the available conditions, actions, and events in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. This is not an exhaustive physics guide, just an introductory guide to get you on your way around the physics objects in Clickteam 2.5. So, how does this look? Okay, this will be pretty brisk. So, an introduction to the physics objects. Clickteam Fusion 2.5 has a lot of focus around the physics objects, and rightly so. The physics engine, Box2D, has been almost built into the main Clickteam Fusion runtime. And this is great news for enthusiasts and professionals alike. It means you can introduce physics into your game concepts and export them across all platforms. The bonus advantage to using physics-based movements and concepts is there is now a whole world of new types of games you can create. The possibilities are almost endless. Whether you want to create the next Angry Birds-like game, or whether you want to create something unique in the game world, now's your chance with the physics engine and Clickteam Fusion. So, let's see what this is all about. I'll read this for you. The physics engine. The physics engine object is the driving force behind your physics-based applications. It contains the code necessary to make the objects move in a physical-oriented way. This object must be present in the frame if you use one of the physics-driven movements. This object also contains a number of actions to control and affect the objects of your physical world. So, without the physics engine object inside your frame, physics movements will not be available. With the physics engine object, you can control the entire world inside your frame. You can set, modify, and adapt gravity strength, gravity angle, set object properties such as friction, density, elasticity, and gravity scales applied to each individual object. The physics engine also allows you to use standard fusion movements too. So, for example, if you have an enemy that just walks left and right on a platform with the path movement, you can allow the engine to incorporate this into the physics world, so anything it touches, it will interact with. You can create joints where objects are joined in some way, shape, or form, whether it's in the form of a distance joint, revolute joint, or a prismatic joint. As with most objects, you can also retrieve a number of real-time expressions, such as current gravity strength, damping, object velocities, and much, much more. We will cover all this in future guides and examples, but for now, let's move on to some basic objects and applying some basic physics routines as an example. So, using the built-in physics movements, we are going to create a new application. And in our frame, we will need to drop in the physics engine somewhere in or outside of the frame. So, let's insert new object and physics object. Physics-engine specifically. We'll insert the physics engine on the outside here. Once we've done that, we'll insert an active object. So we insert an object. Right here. Okay, and do how do we do that? Diagonal bar. Here we go, size. So I want it to be 32 by 32. And we'll make it a little box. And give it a bit of a border. Hold up. This is very bad to use. I can't even see where the cursor is here. There we go. Do that. And use the line tool. Make a little cross on it. There we go. So we've got our box. Once you've done this, don't forget to click the hotspot icon. And click on G. G, that's a C. Probably a typo. This will automatically center the hotspot at the center of mass. Not necessarily the center of the image, the center of the mass of the object. So we also need to give it a name. And we shall call it box. Now, we need to create some kind of ground for our box to stand on. So, we'll add a quick backdrop and stretch it so that it fits the play area. And we'll put a border on it. So we need to add a quick backdrop here. Have it fill the play area. Width-wise, and give it a blue. Nah. Border will be black. Have a width of 2. And the color will be very visible blue, green. Okay. So now we right click create active object, and this will create an active object that looks exactly like the quick backdrop object. So we say create an active object. And that creates an active object there. So we can delete the backdrop object that we made. Deleted. And replace it with this active. So we want to set that to the center, which means we'll have to move it like so. Okay, so we need to set up some properties for the box and the ground. So we have the ground in position and the box ready to go. So let's set the properties of these two objects so we can tell the physics engine which is the box and which is the ground and how they should behave. So floor first. Click the floor object and go to the properties box. Click the movement tab and in the movement type select physics background. So we go into properties here, movement type, and we say physics background. And this will present you with some additional properties you can configure. First, locate the property obstacle. Open its combo box and select obstacle. The object now generates background collisions. So let's do that. So this is an obstacle now. And let's change the collision shape to box. There we are. The collision shape is now box. And we need to select smooth rotations. Already selected. So that's pretty much our physics world setup, and we haven't even wrote a single event. That's how easy it is. So let's see how our box looks so far. Oh, our box isn't moving. It's acting like it should have. Let's double click, double check. Okay. I don't know why the box is not adhering to gravity. Unless... There we go. I think that's what we need. That needs to be considered physics movement. Now, if we do this, it goes right through. Alright. Um... Huh. I don't get why this isn't working according to how the tutorial says. Okay, let's try to get through it. So, for the sake of this guide, we're not going to create a game, we're creating a test bed. Click the box object, select the runtime, and uncheck create at start. So we don't want this created at the start. If we run this, box doesn't show up. Good. Okay. Now we create a new condition. We select mouse, user clicks. So we go to create object. And we create an object. Specifically, we want to create a box. So it doesn't matter where it starts. So then we go to the box here. Nah, we'll need to these two xmouse, and we set the y coordinate to y mouse. Now we run. Okay, I need to figure that out. Ah, here we go. Now, our box is still dropping straight through our ground object we laid earlier. This is because you need to tell Clickteam Fusion what to do when certain objects collide with other objects. So we create a new condition and select box collides with the active background. Once we've inserted the condition, go to the box object, right click and select movement stop. Now, this does not imply stopping the object speed-wise. We're telling them if the box collides the ground, stop the box at the collision point. Don't decelerate. Gravity is always being applied, and depending on what angle the box collides with the ground, it could still be moving. However, with the way we have our flat surfaces laid out, it shouldn't be an issue for the moment. So, if we run our application and click, it still goes through the freaking ground. Okay. What is going on here? Did I not have it on a physics movement? Hey. Okay. No, that's just creating an object that stays there. There's gotta be something I'm missing here. So this is in... this is an active object. Box. Create ground. Active object. Physics background. Okay, here we go. This is what I missed. Move to the box. Under movement. Select physics static. So physics static movement. Locate initial direction. And select each of the available 32 directions. Choose all of them. Now collision shape should be box. And it should have smooth rotation. Okay, there we go. But it still goes through the thing. It is not respecting me. Let me see. Physics backgrounds. It's an obstacle. Collision shape box. Everything's set up like it should be there. I don't know why that's messing up. Create object box. Oh, hold on. Place that with wise with the background. There we go. So it's not colliding with the object itself, it's colliding with the background. Got it. I'm learning new things. Okay, so now let's test it. Now it's working. Like how these, when it's like this, it just kind of stabs the ground. Okay. So, but the boxes are falling through each other. So, we need to tell Fusion about this. We need to say that when a box collides with another box, stop the movement. This will stop the objects from overlapping each other. So, create another condition, right-click the box object, and choose Collisions Another Object. Then enter the action movement stop. Collisions. Another object. Between box and box. And we want the movement to stop. So, once we try this, the boxes propagate, they push each other out of the way, they have all sorts of behaviors like that. Pew, 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 pew. And it works perfectly. So, that was my bad on how long it took me to figure that out. That should have been much faster. Human error there. So, that is the quick demonstrative tutorial they have for the physics system. And let's move on to this. What is this? All boxed up physics tutorial. So, I think we will try to complete this and then we'll call it a night. So, in this guide, we'll show you how to create a physics-based game in Clickteam Fusion from start to finish. It will show you how simple it can be to drag and drop objects into the play area, assign movements, and create the game logic with just a few clicks of the mouse. So, we are going to create a game that contains boxes and a little character called Ken. Our boxes will be stacked on a ledge, and the aim of the game is to knock as many boxes off the ledge as possible with just free lives. It will include a high score chart to keep track of players' high scores. And this is a very basic and simple tutorial, and everything will be explained in this tutorial. So the library will be in the bottom. So first, we gotta set up the play area. And the first thing we'll do is start a new application. So we need to drop in physics object. We need the engine hanging out here. It doesn't matter where you place this. This is the object that just controls all the physics and objects in the game. Now we set up the play area. We're going to drag and drop all the objects in and place them where we want them to appear in the play area. First, we put in ground. Open up the graphic library and drag the ground into the play area. We want it to be in the bottom left-hand corner. So, go into tutorials here. All boxed up, ground. And we want that to be on the bottom left there. Like so. Now right click the ground object and select duplicate. 1 row, 14 columns. And that should fill the play area. So next, we want to give the ground some properties. So we want to go to movement and select physics background and obstacle from the obstacles list. Now we have a ground for objects to fall into. Let's place some more objects. Now we grab the sky object and position that in the screen. It will be the background. Now we need crates. In the library, drag crates in. In the Properties tab, select the third tab across, which is Movement, and select Physics, Static Movement. So we say Physics, Static Movement. You can keep everything pretty much default. Go down to the bottom of the property window and select Collision Shape Box. As that is what the object is, a box shape. This plays an important role in future games as it allows for better collision detection. We want to check auto rotation and smooth rotations. So that will automatically rotate the image when the box itself rotates, and smooth rotations tells it to smoothen when it's rotating the object. So now we have ground for our objects to fall into. We can place some more objects. So let's create a sort of ledge with the ground and position some boxes on top of it. So we want to position this around 250 frame Y. And we'll give it 250x2. We can duplicate this along columns. Put that crate up there. And we can duplicate this too. We want 4 rows of 2 columns, like so. Grab all of them, pull them up a bit. There we go. I'll grab these columns, separate them out a little. Okay. We wanna stick them close to the tiles there so that they start there. So now we need to add the character. This will be Ken. Let's drag him in here. Hello, Ken. Welcome to the game. We're now going to give Ken some properties that will make him the main player. Once Ken is in the play area, we're going to click on him and go into the properties window. In there, we need to give him a movement, and he will be a bouncing ball under the physics system. So his initial direction will be $11, $22, $33, $45. Okay. Like so. Then set his initial speed to 35, deceleration to 7. Set his elasticity to 40. The bounce effect. So we give him 40 elasticity. And we check the fixed angle checkbox. Set his collision shape to circle, as that's what the object is. And check auto rotation and smooth rotations. We're going to check bullet, as he can move pretty fast. So we need precise detection. So we click on the fourth tab, which is runtime, and uncheck create at start, because we want to spawn the character when the mouse is clicked. So let's add a power meter, lives object, and score object. Drag and drop the power meter, then drag and drop the meter frame and align them. So we've got the meter frame, and let's zoom in here. We want the power meter in there. Let's get the frame. On the front there. Perfect. Now drop in the plus and minus object and align them. So we put plus on top here and minus below here. Add a little further. There we go. So we click on the counter object and set its properties to min value equals 0, max value equals 25 to 25, And initial value equals 140. What's the counter object? There is no counter object here. What do they mean? Hmm. Do we add one? Okay. Min value equals 0. Max value equals 255. And initial value equals 140. Dun. Um. Oh. This is what they mean, I think. The power meter. Okay. Now drag the lives object and position this in the top right hand corner. Get lives up here. And we drag the score object and position that just below lives. Get that right here. Now we also need to drop in our detector object. This gives the character a direction to aim in when we fire him. So drop the detector object in the frame and open its property window. Is that this? Okay. So should look similar to this. The play area is set up and ready for action. So let's head to the event editor here. Once here, we need to create some events to make our game work the way we want it to. So, the first thing we should set up is collisions and collision detection. Insert a condition based on the crate, colliding with the backdrop. And just like in the last tutorial, we want to set the crate's movement to stop. And we need a similar condition that will check if the crate is colliding with another crate. And we also want movement to stop there. So, if we test this, the crates will stop right where they spawn. That is exactly what we want. So, insert a new condition. Right click on Ken and repeat the above two steps for Ken. Collision with backdrop and collision with another Ken. So, Ken collides with the backdrop, Ken stops, and when Ken collides with another Ken, he'll also stop. So, remember the detector? We're going to perform some magic there. Insert a new condition. The detector. Oh, special always. Over to the square object. Right click and select position, set X coordinate. X mouse, Y mouse. Okay, interesting. So X is X mouse, Y is Y mouse. So basically, always set the red square to the position under our mouse. We use this for aiming when we shoot our object, and it will aim towards the hidden object under our mouse. So basically, this is sort of subbing in for our mouse, giving us an aiming target. Interesting. Now, let's make our speed meter we inserted work in the game. We dropped in a plus and minus sign, so we need to have it so when the player clicks on plus, it increases the speed the object's thrown, and when they click on minus, it will decrease that speed. So the player can choose the speed to throw the object at the boxes. So we go into mouse, check for mouse pointer over an object. And we want to check it's over the plus sign, so plus sign OK. And we create a second condition. Um, right click the condition. Huh. Wasn't letting me. Here we go. Add a new condition. We want to go to mouse, repeat while mouse key is pressed, and select mouse left button. So now we have a two condition. Both of these need to be true or it won't happen. So this indicates that the user wants to increase the power. So we go to the power meter counter object, right click and select add to counter. And I believe it said to add 2. Yeah, that's right. Now we repeat these steps for the minus sign. So we copy Oh. So we say the mouse pointer is over minus, and we repeat while the left mouse button is pressed. This time we subtract from counter 2. So, if we run this, we can increase and decrease the counter here. Very handy. So, great. We're nearly there. Just need to create a condition, so where our player clicks the right mouse button, it will create a new Ken player and launch him in the direction of our mouse and at the speed we set in the power meter. So, let's do that now. We have lives, free of them. So we need to check in the next event that there is more than 0 lives available. So we insert a new condition, right click keyboard and mouse object, and mouse user clicks. We want the right button here. Okay, now we need a second condition, and that second condition will compare to player's number of lives. So that is here. The player has more than 0 lives. So, now we're going to tell Fusion to create a Ken object to the left of the screen, fire him in the direction of the mouse, and set the firing speed to the speed set by the power meter. So we hover over to the create object icon, create object, want to create a Ken. So let's create him just outside the screen. So like -27 or so. And their Y value is 230. So we click OK. On the same condition line, we go over to the Ken icon, right click, and select direction, look in the direction of, and when it jumps to the frame editor, click the little red box. So direction, look in the direction of our little box. So we've created the Ken object and set its direction to face the mouse. Just one last thing for this is to set the Ken player speed to the speed we set in the power meter. So we right click Ken, select movement set speed, and we set that speed to the value of the power meter. So click this, movement set speed, and the speed should be the value of the power meter. Okay. So, let's test how this is working so far. Whoop. So it's doing the background correctly, but I forgot to make one important collision. So I'm gonna move this up here with the rest of these. And I want that to stop. This can I want to stop, I think. So what happens if I do this? Oop. Okay, there we go. Now it is working as intended. Merp. Merp. Oops. Okay. So that's working pretty well. We're getting close here. So, one thing we need to add is we subtract a life every time the player fires a Ken. So, for the player, we want to subtract 1 from the number of lives every time the player fires. So if we see that, once our lives run out, we can no longer fire cans. Will not work. Which is what we wanted. So, we want to stop the boxes and the cans from leaving the screen on the right there. So, we want to test the position of Ken as he leaves the right and stop his movement. Stop, Ken. And we repeat this for the crate. So if we test the position of crate and it's leaving the right, we want the crate to stop. Stop it. So let's see what this looks like. Oop. As you can see, there's a sort of invisible wall to the right now, which is the result of these simple commands. Okay, we're at the final event for the game. We need to detect how many boxes actually fell down so we can give the player a score. So, let's talk about flags. A flag is either on or off. By objects having flags, we can determine whether a flag is on or off at any time. Say we're counting bricks. Once you've counted a brick, we want to mark that brick so we know it's been counted. So in Fusion, that would be done by setting a flag. This means that when the crate has already been counted, it won't be counted again. So, at the start, by default, all flags are off. They're always off until a flag is turned on. To detect a crate's fallen, we need to test its Y position in the play area. So, we insert a new condition, right-click crate, and select position, compare Y position to a value. So, we need to find a value which would mean the crate has dropped off the ledge. Select greater, then type in 270. 270. So the ledge finishes at 270, so if a crate passes that point, we're sure that it's fallen. So now we need to add one more condition. So right-click the event and add condition. Crate alterable values flags is a flag off. And we'll be using flag 0. So now we go to the crate icon, right click, and select flag set on. Alterable value flags, here we go. Set on flag 0. We go to the player 1 icon, right click, select score, add to score, and 1. So, oops, I wanted to add to score 1. So, what's going on here is this will only be done once for each crate, because if the Y position of the crate is over 270 and the crate's flag 0 is off, then the flag will be set on and a value will be added to score. Once the flag is on, it won't turn off again. So this won't be run again for that instance of the box. Remember, we have several instances of the boxes on the frame. So each of them will be counted individually because each of them has a separate flag. Okay, does that make sense? Let's move on. This is the game complete. You hit F8 and run the game. You should be able to set a power, use the mouse, and shoot. So, we do that. Boom. So, as you can see, it's counting the boxes that fall off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Matches the score. That means we've only been counting these boxes once. Perfect. We did it. Okay, so we've created a little physics game. Very simple, but it's a pretty good showcase of the engine, I think. So, as you've seen, Clickteam Fusion has pretty good integration with the Box 2D physics. It's a very common physics framework used in a lot of different engines. And as you've seen, it's pretty easy to use in Clickteam Fusion too. So, that has been Clickteam Fusion 2. It's a very good game engine, I think. It's not going to have the stopping power of Unity or Unreal Engine 4 in creating more complicated games, but it's very good for creating simple 2D games. This program, in some form or another, has been around for a very long time now. I believe the, what was it originally called? Click and Create? Yeah, that was like 1995. That's a very long time ago. So this program has been iterated on for what is that? Like 30 years almost? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's getting close to that. So yeah, it's been a long enduring formula and it's kind of worked for them. I remember seeing games made with the ancestors of this engine in like old shareware CDs. They were everywhere. And it was kind of fun to see them because like you got the impression, oh, I could do this. And honestly, you probably could. A lot of those games are really bad. But yeah, there is a sort of appeal to those really bad games. You could think to yourself, I could make this, and you probably could. So yeah, this was Clickteam Fusion, and I think that's all I have to say on it. So I'm going to pop up my OBS here. You'll be able to see it all. And that'll be it for tonight. It's been gay.